Good morning, my friends. Welcome back. It's a new series that we're starting with the Deal It Up Challenge. So series 1, in case you missed it, was birds, and we did a set of 6 cards to look like a cohesive collection, but each with different prompts. So series 2, we've already chosen the subject. We did that at the end of the last video on the Deal It Up Challenge. Is children. So we're going with the theme of children for the next series of 6. So if you haven't played along before, I do welcome you to join in. You do not have to do all 6 cards. You can dip in and out as you like. You can do 1, you could do 3, you could do 6, or anything in between. There is also an alternate make if you don't want to do one of the faux collectors cards. You're more than welcome to jump in and do that if you prefer, or you can do both if you're really feeling those creative juices flowing. So lots of options for you guys. If you just want to come along and watch and enjoy, that is all good too, but I encourage you to have a little play, see what you think. You might find you really enjoy it, or you might find you don't. I don't know, we're all different, aren't we? So without further ado, let's get into pulling our prompts for this week. So the first 2 prompts I pull will go with this card here, the children card. They will also go with the alternate make if you want to do that instead or as well. Right, let's pull a card. Let's go the top one instead of, I usually go halfway down the pack. So let's go the top card. Vintage. Cool, we're starting off with a vintage vibe, which is interesting considering my plan that I've got for this series. So we'll see how that goes. I think I've set myself a real challenge, but oh well, that's what it is. It's a challenge, isn't it? So while I'm doing this, how was your weekend, my friends? Did you have a good weekend? We had a busy weekend, I would say. I was consumed with Facebook. No. Food bank. See it, FBs, only a few letters different. Food bank duties. A couple of parcels on Saturday and on Sunday. I had another request that was a bit tricky and had, so there was a lot of communication with other people trying to, okay, I'm going the top one, trying to work out things, and yeah, so I didn't deliver any parcels, but it was just like, probably took me a couple of hours to work through that issue. Brown paper. I have grabbed out brown paper because that's what I'm going to do on the back of my card. So I've already got some brown paper at the ready. Okay, so they're the 2 prompts to go with your children card. Now with these faux collector sets, if you haven't seen a video on this before, choosing at least one element that will go across all your cards in that series, if you do them all, that will make them look cohesive, make them look like part of a set. So in my last series on birds, I did a gold frame and stamped words on brown paper. They were my 2 elements. I'm doing slightly different for this series, but I still want to make them look like just another theme from the overall series. So I want them to still tie in with series 1, the birds. You don't have to. You can have them each individual styles, completely up to you, but I just this morning decided I wanted them to still look overall, once we do all our series, I don't know how many we're going to do, by the way, they'll look, still some sort of cohesive element across the board. Right, okay, let's just take the top one of this. This is the alternate make, and it's a business form. Interesting. We've had that one already during the last series of 6, but that's okay. Maybe you'll have a few more ideas now that I did it in the last one on what you might want to do with a business form. And a business form is like a guest check or a receipt, or anything like that. Anything. Even a bit of ledger, I guess, would actually work. Right. Top one again. Steps or stairs. So this last prompt is for this alternate make, the business form in today's case. If you want to, and if you can work it in, then you're more than welcome to include it on your faux collector's card, but it's not essential. You can leave this one off if you can't find a way to work it in that makes sense or that you like. So these two are a must for this one, and these three that I've got my fingers on are a must for this one. And when I say must, like, it's up to you. If you leave off a prompt, I'm not going to come chase you down and say you left off a prompt. It's up to you guys. And how you interpret these as well is up to you. Right, wee sip of my coffee. And I'm going with a different playing card for this set. These are some old ones. It's got the linen like texture on them. They're used. I got them from my favourite junk shop. And there's a few cards missing in the set. It had a nice little label on it saying which ones were missing. So perfectly good excuse to use them as altered cards. So we're going to start with this one, just because it's the one on top. And I haven't pre-backed them. I forgot to do that. So I'm just going to back them with brown paper. Use your words. And it doesn't matter which side is which, because they're both going to be covered. So we're going to lose completely both sides. So the fact that it's grimy, I don't care. It's going to be covered. We're never going to see the grime again. And it, you know, does add a nice vintage patina, but we are covering it. So because brown paper is... Have I got enough brown paper to do the backs and do... I'm just going to grab 6 cards just to see if I can spare some of this. Yeah, I think we can. Yep. Okay. Just doing a wee check there. Right, so I'm going to just tear a little piece of this off to work with. Now, to do the decorated side, I am, as part of one of my elements, I'm choosing multiple elements to tie them together. So again, I'm going with the gold border to tie it in with my first set of 6. That's the thing that I'm going to use across all of my sets, I think, is the gold border, because I love it. It's really cool. I'm going to do stamped words, but they're going to be slightly different to last time. So similar but not the same. And then the thing that I'm using in particular for this set is a plain bit of paper but coloured. So just a coloured regular bit of like copy paper but in a colour. So we've got vintage. So choose out a colour for this card, and I envisage I'll do each card a different colour, because I thought children, playful, colour, bright. That's kind of where my head was going. I've only got 4 in this pack, so limited choices for today, actually. There's a part, but, oh, 2 of it. I only need 1. So I'm going to go with orange for today. And just going to totally cover the card with that to start with. That's my starting point. So hopefully, I do know I've got other colours of plain paper. So I've got purple and a couple of shades of yellow, and they're just not at hand. So I should be fine to find 6 different colours. There's always origami paper that I could use as well, because I've got that in lots of different colours. And it will certainly be big enough to cover a playing card. So I'm just going to cover the whole thing to start with in that whatever coloured paper. Just give it a rough trim out to start with. So what did you get up to at your weekend? I would love to know. Hopefully it was a really lovely one for you. We actually had some pretty good weather for a change this summer. This summer has been terrible. You've heard me talk about it on multiple occasions, but we actually had not super hot days. They were like, I think the hottest day, and we had one of it, yesterday I think was 28. But it's kind of like in the early to mid 20s, and sunshine, and just, yeah, it's been lovely to have a bit of sunshine, a bit of just stable temperature, because it's been so up and down. Now I am inking. It's probably going to be covered by the gold border, but I'm still doing it, and it also gives me a little bit of thinking time about how I'm, you know, my next step. So we should actually pick out our child so we know how we want to do the background as well. And this will play into the vintage, because I'm sourcing my children images from vintage books, and they are a pair of Janet and John books. I remember these from when I was at primary school. It's got the New Zealand Education Department on the back there. I don't know how old they are. Well, it's got copyright 1949, but I wouldn't have thought it was that old. And this one says 1949 as well, but I doubt they're from there. I think that's just the original copyright. I'm just going to move these cards out of the way for a moment, because they're getting caught up in my books and looking disheveled, and it bothers me. I think this one has the better images, the bigger images in it. I think these are a little smaller. They're not too bad, even though her hat is cut off at the top. I don't know exactly what image I want for today, so let's have a look. Oh, that's cute. Playing with a train, but we'd have to lose most of the train, I think, to fit it on. It's quite fun. Oh, actually, there are some images that are a better size. I thought they all, from my first flick through, they looked all quite small. So, choices. This is not what I was originally going to use, but what I originally wanted I couldn't find, and then I had another idea, and the book that I wanted to use for the second one I couldn't find either. I think I'm going to use this one, the wee girl with her doll and the pram. So I think that's very sweet. Just going to take the whole page out. Right, done with those for now. What was I saying? Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so I couldn't find the two things, my original idea and my second idea. I couldn't find them. That's why I don't like tidying up, guys, because you tidy up and then you can't find what you want. And I couldn't spend forever looking. So I found these in the process, and I thought, well, they will work. And I've got two of them, so it gives me options for different images and still in the same style. So they're all in the same style, which I think is really cool for creating a cohesive look. They don't have to be. You could go totally like different sources. It's absolutely fine. Like different magazines or wherever you like to source your images. I'm just doing a loose kiss cut, leaving a little bit of a border around the image. Yeah, it's entirely up to you how you want to approach your focal image. There's no rules on that. There's no rules on anything, even the prompts, it's just take or leave as you are inspired. Or if you don't have a certain supply, find an alternative. That's all good, my friends. Right, so I've got a plan for this scrap here. So we might have to do a little trim because I've left the border on the pictures a bit wider. That's okay. We can easily lose a bit of the pram handle or her back if needed. The border, not her back, but the border. Okay, so I think that's looking cute. So we want some brown paper. So let's to about there. And give it a more funky shape, just because it's fun. Now I think some sheet music too, because my sheet music is also vintage, bordering on antique actually. So why not include that as part of the vintage aesthetic? Just find a piece here in my... Here we go, this will do. An old hymn book. So do I want a vertical piece? Decisions. Okay, let's start gluing down before I get too much of a mess. Though I have to say, since we got fibre installed last week, so last Monday we got fibre installed, it's totally revolutionised what I can do. It really has. It's so good. A 20-minute video takes less than 10 minutes to upload now, where before it was taking 2 to 3 hours for a 20-minute video. An hour-long video could take anywhere up to 6 hours, and now a 1-hour video will take 40 minutes to upload, which means I can actually record on the day that I want to air if I have to, which I am doing today, because I got caught up with Food Bank business yesterday. By the time I'd completed all that, I didn't have time to do a video, so I'm doing it in the morning, and I know I can do it with confidence because my video actually will upload and be ready on time, with still time for me to edit it as well. So it's just opened up my schedule, you know, it's given me a bit of freedom, I guess, to not be so worried about being a day ahead, at least a day ahead. Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's fantastic. I didn't think it would make that much of a difference, but it really has. So while it's been a bit of a trial lately on the old uploading front, I think that's pretty much at an end. For an extra like $19 a month that it will cost us, totally worth it. I have the bestest husband who does everything he can to make things easier for me. He's pretty amazing. I do have to say he's pretty amazing. Okay. Is it vintagey enough? That's what I'm wondering. I am thinking, do I want to just do a little like stencil in the background? Won't be much of it showing, but we could do that. And I want something that's kind of gives me a vintagey vibe in terms of pattern. I do have paisley here somewhere. There's, whoops, my folder's crushing things at the side of my desk. Where's my paisley one? That might be quite appropriate. Here have you gone, paisley. Ah, here we go. Right at the front of this section. And I think paisley, you know, paisley was very much in when I was a little girl, and I did not like paisley at all. I thought it was absolutely hideous. I think because I'd had brown paisley, and I was never that into brown as a little girl, and I think it just really, yeah, just did not appeal. But I'm changing. I'm actually finding a new appreciation for it. So yeah, so I'm embracing the paisley right now. I'm going to add, and I'm going to do it onto the sheet music as well. It's just going to bring in a little bit more of that vintage aspect for me. What do you guys think? Are you a paisley person? Do you love paisley, or do you like, oh my gosh, get that away from me, it's awful, which is what I used to be? Or are you someone who's switched sides? Either you loved it and now you don't like it, or you hated it and now you like, oh yeah, I quite like it. It's funny how our tastes change, isn't it? Just because we hate something at some point doesn't mean we always have to hate it. Or dislike. I shouldn't say hate, should I? Dislike. Oh yes, I think that is rather beautiful. And that's something I never, even now, I never thought I'd use the word beautiful to describe paisley. But it's just texture, isn't it? Texture and interest in the background, giving a bit more of that vintagey sort of vibe. Love that. I think I'm going to glue her on now. I'm going to attempt glue stick, and hopefully I don't make a mess. Be very careful how I lay the glue stick on. Make sure I get all the bits. Hope you can't hear my dishwasher in the background. All sorts of whirs and gurgles. But I put it on before I started filming because it was full. So, you know, it's life. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of ink to those new edges that we've got there, just in case. They probably won't show under the gold, but, you know, there might be a little shadow that shows through here and there. Do all the edges. You've got a whole bunch of new edges you've created, and that also will help bring in some of that. I'm actually allowing it to brush further onto the card rather than just an edge, just to bring in some of that. Right, okay, so my plan for the scraps of the book page, because they've got a real, you know, a real patina. They've been through many children's hands over the years, and that's what I'm going to do to stamp my word. And I've gone for a smaller stamp this time, these wee stamps here, if you can see those. So I can go have a bit more flexibility in how long the word is that I use. Maybe even 2 words if I want, or a phrase. I don't know. I'm just planning on 1 word at this point. Now I've got to come up with a word that I want. Got my block here. I think I'll do it along the edge here, so I've got maybe on the side, so I've got plenty of space to spell it out. What do I want? I've changed my mind. I'm going with 2 words, just because what's this image is speaking to me, I want to run with. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do 2 words. I'm just going to put them on my paper to the side and clean them off later. So I've gone for this font that I felt was a little playful. It's all capitals, but that's okay. So T, I need the T. T, where are you? Working backwards, and it's quite hard to see on the green mat. I'm going to stamp out little. Grab the L back. And the E, there we go. Little, because I've got room to do a stack of words there, I think. So I'm going to stamp out little, and I think I'll separate them so I can arrange them how I need to fit in. I'm going to stamp out little mother, because that's what's speaking to me with this image. With her doll in the pram, it's like she's a little mother, and that's what it's about, isn't it? When you're playing with dolls, you're playing out what you see in your own parent, your own mother. You're role playing essentially, and you learn how to look after something, and you basically treat them like you're treated by your own mother. And so I just thought it was really sweet. Little mother. Oh, little moth at the moment. E. And the R. R. Sound like a pirate. Little mother. And that just makes me really happy. I think that's sweet. Okay. Right, do I want to tear or cut? I want to tear with a ruler. And of course I didn't stamp straight, so I've got to line up with my words, not with the paper. Now trying to do this without smudging, because I'm not sure that ink's actually dry yet. Hope this doesn't go wrong. It's quite thick paper, this. It's a reasonable weight of paper. It's definitely thicker than photocopy paper. Just being careful, I don't want to end up tearing my word in half, because then I'd have to start again. Okay, and there. So we've got our little. Now for the mother. I could keep these scraps for stamping on, doing other things with, but I might fish them out of the rubbish afterwards. But it's just a good place to put them, is in the rubbish. Otherwise they just start cluttering up everything. And I'll probably, in all honesty, I'll probably just leave them in the rubbish, because I've got, you know, more scraps, bigger scraps to keep. Right. Don't tear it in half. Don't tear it in half. Done. We made it. No accidents. So maybe even on like a jointy little angle there. Alright, I want to ink around this, bring in a bit more of that vintage aesthetic, since it is a prompt. I probably would ink anyway. And I think using this same book page for stamping also ties it in with the actual image itself, because it's the same, exact same page. Okay, glue this on, and my my glue page is now covered in my dirty stamps that I used, so I'm just going to use tacky glue rather than fuss with all those tiny little stamps that are sitting all over my glue pages. I'm looking at that going, that looks really weird. It doesn't look like a proper word. It is spelt correctly, it just looks weird. Maybe it's because it's all in capitals and the word is little, which means little, but capitals are big, the big version of letters, so maybe that's in my brain, it's going, that feels wrong. But it's okay, because it's spelt correctly. I love that it's on an angle. I feel it's a bit more playful to suit the theme of children. whether I do them all on an angle or not will depend on the images, I think. Right, let's finish it up with our gold border and then set it aside to dry. And then I need to grab out some sort of business form. Not sure. I want to see if I can use a different one to what I used last time, but I'm not sure what I've got behind me, so we'll get this done and then we'll take a look. So I just love the gold border. I think it's really pretty, very smart too. It's kind of like a very refined kind of touch. This is Liquitex acrylic ink, in case you're wondering. A bit more on my dropper here. It's actually an eyedropper that I'm using. It comes with the bottle. That's the lid. I mean, you can see that, can't you? I'm just telling you things that you already can see. Oops, got a bit of excess there. Oh well, never mind. The girl's obviously been playing in the paints as well, so she's got a bit of gold paint. Spread out. Here we go. Just a bit of a splodge there, but that's okay. I think it's cute. I'm saying it's okay, but inside I'm like, not overly fond of that, but I think it's there to stay. I don't want to make a complete mess. No, I've managed to push most of it back in towards the edge, and so there's just a faint bit there. So it's a little better. It's not exactly perfect, but I've got to embrace it. We're not going to fuss with it because we're going to likely end up with a bigger issue than what I started with. Sometimes I've just got to learn when to leave things well enough alone. Okay, so that's our card. I'm going to pop it behind me to dry. Right, so we've done vintage, brown paper and children. That's our card. So I'm going to put the children card up. Whoops, not on that pile because that's the wrong pile. And so now I'm going to put these three here with the business form. Now steps or stairs is interesting because I don't know if I have anything close at hand. We shall see. Anyway, let's grab a form first, if I can find one. Actually, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to pause the recording so that I can look properly. Otherwise, I'm too focused on not spending too much time. So I'll be right back. Okay, I am back and I think I have everything I need. So these are the business form that I have chosen to use. It's quite small. It is 3 3/4 inches across by 5 3/4 tall. They're not super thin. They're probably around copy paper weight, maybe a slightly higher. I'm not going to back it. It's perfectly fine, especially colour-wise for writing on. But I think sometimes it's good to have a lighter piece that can tuck in. If our journal's getting a bit weighty, having some lighter ephemera can really help while still adding more, if you like. So I'm going to work with that in its original thickness, and I'm just going to decorate up. So we're using brown paper, vintage style, I guess, steps or stairs, and I found a image in a magazine. It's a painting magazine actually, of this staircase, and it's got this lovely lamp on the banister pillar bottom thing of the staircase, which is very vintage styling, very I want to say Art Deco, but maybe Art Nouveau. I don't know. I don't really know my styles all that well. Is it okay to admit that? I just kind of make it up as I go along. I probably need to do a bit more research on periods though, you know, art periods or style periods, because I'm really not at all up to the play. And I think, how do people know this? How do they have they studied it, like, or just are they geniuses and know all the different styles and what they are and what they mean and what they look like? Because I don't. If I come across one that I've got to do, I've then have to research, and it's like, well, what is it about? What style is that? I guess it's not an area I've really paid attention to, so I guess that's okay. So I thought I had originally planned to do some stamping for my focal image, but I think this is, it gives me the vintage, it gives me the steps or stairs, so I'm going to go with that as is. Now I have left on the white border from the magazine image, and that's going to give somewhere for my ink to show up when I ink around it. So we're going to turn that white border basically into a vintage photo border. Now, I'm not going to completely cover the front of the form. I want to show, you know, basically what it is, but you can completely cover it if you like. Again, choices. It's all how you want to treat it. It's just about using the business form as a base. You don't need to let any of it show if you don't want to. So, right, I'm actually kind of liking it dead center, and I want brown paper. I don't want to break into that other brown paper because that's what I want to back my cards with. But I've got this as part of a paper bag, and it's shiny on one side, so I think I'll glue the shiny side down, and we've got a seam there, and I'm just going to take that seam off. Oh, makes a nice sound when you rip it. That was rather pleasing to my ears, so I hope it wasn't unpleasant to yours. Not everybody loves the sound of ripping paper. This has got a particular sound. It's very crunchy. Oops. Rip, rip, rip. Oh, I kind of actually like that shape. It's a bit of fun. Not sure whether it's probably a bit big, so I have to, yeah, it's definitely too big, so we'll need to take some of that down. I think I will end up putting it off center. This particular pad of During Your Absence papers is actually manufactured in Christchurch, which is my local city. So that's interesting. I bought them brand new. They're not vintage or anything. They are new. And I bought them for this. Now, I forgot I was going to, while I had the camera paused, clean up my stamps that I put on my glue page. And I forgot. So I'm just going to try and remove it with them on. And set it aside so I can use my glue pages. Whoops. Without losing any stamps, preferably. Right, there we go. This is a bit dodgy, you know, my history on losing stamps and all. Hopefully they'll be fine. It's a cheap set, so I guess it's not too much of an issue. Okay. Right, I'm just going to glue that paper on. Now, this shiny paper, I hope it sticks okay with the glue stick. But I can always go in with tacky glue later if it lifts up an edge here or there. I just get a bit uncertain sometimes on certain types of paper whether it's the glue stick's going to hold it. Should be fine. There should be no reason. Like, it works on shiny magazine paper quite fine, so it should work on this paper bag just as well. Now this piece will curl a bit because of the glue stick. It will flatten out when I put it in a journal or under my mat or something. It will flatten out again. It's not a problem. Just makes it a little trickier to work with while it curls. Right, I think I want to add some other layers. So do we want sheet music again? Or look at this scrummy old bit of paper. It's from Anderson's Fairy Tales, and it's a very old book. Very fragile, and I love the colour, and it is actually brown paper. It's so aged that it's actually brown, so it would meet meet our brown paper prompt actually. And I love this edge here. It's got a bit folded over. I love how grungy that edge is. So fragile. There's a bit of a tear there. Maybe I need to put this further over here instead. Oh, I like the 2 and the date actually. If we leave that there, maybe push that down, cover some of this text at the bottom, I think. Okay, yep, I like that. I'm just really hesitant about gluing this, but I think maybe I'll change my glue page just to avoid any accidents. And I'm just going to have to be very, very careful. This hole here where it's a hole, but the piece hasn't come out, so like you could easily end up tearing it out, which, I mean, it's a grungy bit of paper, it wouldn't really matter, would it? I just don't want to ruin this beautiful bit of paper. Right, so put it down over top of that text there a little bit and have that lovely edge. Oops, it's not straight. Straighten it up, that's better. And then just, whoops, see, yeah, there we go. Just being I wasn't even pushing too hard. Let's just try a different approach. Press down with the card, and then you can scrape over here where it's a bit less damaged. Okay. That little accident actually looks really cool. It's, you know, it's fine. I think we're going to go there. But before I do that, I still want to do some stamping of some sort of vintage element. I was thinking about the typewriter, but I don't know that the typewriter really makes a lot of sense. Camera might make more sense. I've also got my ink bottles out, but again, I don't know that it really fits. But the camera would make sense because it's like, this is a photograph. We've got a vintage element with taking a photo on a film camera, as opposed to, we're assuming it's a film camera. This is more vintage kind of styling set with the typewriter and the bike and stuff, so I'm assuming this is like a actual film camera. Right, where's my block gone, people? Where have I put it? There it is. And the next issue is, where is my stamp pad? Oh, there it is. Buried. Now, do I want to stamp it on this Janet and John book page? There's a little pencil mark there. I think I'm gonna, it's the 2nd of November, it's a date. It's faintly there. I think I'll stamp on this book page. We'll add it over top as an element, and then, but I want to do background stamping, so and possibly in a brown shade, I think. Do we want sepia? I prefer coffee if I can find it. No, I cannot find my coffee ink, so it's going to have to be sepia, either that or vintage photo or something, but we'll go sepia. It's a bit oranger than I would like, but I can't find my coffee at the moment. It's buried in my drawer, and it's going to take too long and be too noisy to find it. I think I'm going to kind of roughly fussy tear. I feel like I've been filming for ages. I hope I'm not going over time, but I'm enjoying myself, so it's not a bad thing. I'm feeling really good about this week, actually. There's not as many interruptions. I do have a meeting to go to tomorrow that I'll be out the afternoon for. I do have a guy coming to check the installation today. But apart from that, I'm feeling like there's might be a little more normal than it has been lately. And I'm looking forward to a bit more normality. Okay, so I do want to do background stamping. What are we going to use? Again, I still want that vintage sort of vibe, I guess. There is this heart with text on it. Maybe we'll try that. Don't think I've used this stamp, so I could use the old paper actually for stamping, but that's rather cute. Some of these might be covered up, so but I'm just like stamping here and there. Okay, I think that's enough of that one. And what else do we want? Do we want some splatters? Some coffee rings? They're always good, aren't they? It gives an impression of age. Which one? Maybe this one. I think this is my most used coffee ring, actually, given the colour on the stamp. Right, how's that looking? Yep, I think that's about it. Let's glue some stuff on. I'll get rid of the drop paper out the way. I think it feels I've been filming forever because I did pause the camera there to do some stuff, so it's probably why it feels like it's been a long video. We are still got time, so that's good. We're almost done though, people. Almost. Just making sure it's straight with that line there, because I think it would look a bit weird if it wasn't straight with that line. And then our little camera. Just find a place that's not super sticky on my glue page. Now I should have inked around this, but I'm not going to bother now that I've glued it. It's just going to live there without being inked. And the last thing I want to do is ink around the edges with my vintage photo. And then we're done. Oops, no, the lid will not give you ink for your brush, dear. So if you're not an inker, you don't have to ink, but it is a good way of getting some more of that vintage styling in. That's one of our prompts. In fact, I might brush a little onto some of the cream just to give it a little bit of a dirty up. A little bit more of a vintage kind of aesthetic. Not with a stencil this time, just with using the whatever colour is on my brush. It's quite hard to ink with something that's quite thin. Right, so let's just kind of tone down that cream a little bit. There we go. So we are done, and I've got one heck of a mess on my desk. Let's kind of like push everything up there. and find our bird card with, not our bird card, my goodness, I've said bird card for so long. Right, so our prompts again. So we'll start with this one because it's already on my desk. So we have business form, we have steps or stairs, we have brown paper and vintage going on. And then our first card in series 2 for our faux collectors cards for the subject children, we've got brown paper and vintage. And that's it. And I've got my elements that make it into a cohesive set, or will make it into a cohesive set, will be the stamped words and the bright colour in the background of different, hopefully 6 different colours. So starting with orange. And then my element that will tie all of my sets together once they're complete is the gold border. So there we go, guys. I hope you have fun with this. Do jump in, give it a go, and I'd love to see what you make. So if you do post it on social media, you can post it in my Facebook group Visual Vibes. The link is down in the description box below. Or you can post it on Instagram and just use the hashtag #DealItUpChallenge so I can find your beautiful makes. Thanks for joining me. Have a great week ahead, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.